We're recording, and I'm going to share my screen. It's going to be good. Okay, so during today's call, obviously, you know, at the end, we're going to be doing Q&A, so not a biggie. But if you have questions, you can drop them in the chat, and if I can work them into the presentation, I will. The presentation, that's funny. The presentation, and I will definitely do that. If not, we'll answer them in the Q&A session, or you can just hold them for Q&A, that's fine too. So today we're going to go over vendor registration and the CSP. So this is basically how we interact with suppliers. And while vendor registration and the use of the CSP are not the same, and you don't have to use the CSP to become a supplier, by the way, we encourage it. And when you are setting up new suppliers, I would ask that everyone on this call take a little bit more time now that we're in Coupa when we set up suppliers to set the relationship up right. And by that, I mean, we all do better with very clear expectations, right? And so when we're talking to suppliers, when we are deciding that we want to start giving them our business, we really need to make sure that we're doing the due diligence upfront, and we're really being thoughtful about the information that we're giving our suppliers and thoughtful about when we're setting up a supplier, right? So we know in Coupa that we are more efficient with suppliers if they understand upfront that we're a national organization and they could potentially be doing business with multiple properties. And we do better if they know the CSP is not optional, guys. So you have the power. Make the CSP not optional for your suppliers, okay? So today we're going to go over vendor registration. First, I'm going to show you what that looks like. Now, vendor registration is really interesting. We use this SIM, which is the Supplier Initiation Module, I think is what it stands for. Don't quote me on that. But it's basically the vendor registration portal that inside Coupa. So we don't use paper, we don't use a third party anymore. We use Coupa to register our suppliers. So when you are sending a vendor registration out, first hint, very, 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 very important to ask, does your company already use Coupa? Okay. If they already use Coupa, it's important to know that because we want to send the invitation to their existing Coupa admin email, okay? So that's the person that manages their Coupa account on their side, okay? Now from a vendor side, you can see multiple customers. So if I'm a supplier and I am already using the portal, I can see MGM, Boyd, Penn, all through one login, one portal, right? It's not all one like lump sum account thing because that's crazy. But I can literally log into Coupa once and then switch between customers. So that's how the portal works from a customer side or a supplier side for us. And when you're first asking a vendor to register, the very first question now that we're using SIM needs to be, do you already use Coupa? If they do, it's really important that when we send the vendor registration, regardless of the rep, regardless of who we've been talking to, we need to send the invite to the person that is already linked to their Coupa account. Reason being, here is an example of an email that you would get if you were already linked to Penn, or if you were already in Coupa and Penn National sent you a vendor registration request. Notice it says you are connected to Penn National on Coupa.
Hey, Nikki.
Yeah.
That's an example of a turtle.
Yeah, I only see a turtle.
Oh, wrong screen. Ha ha ha. Okay. Just sorry. So no turtle. Email. You guys see email now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. So here's the example of the email that you would send to a supplier already using Coupa. So if you send it to the email address they already have linked to the portal, they're going to get something that looks like this. And it's going to say, hey, you're connected to Penn. That's semi-misleading because all that means is that you now have Penn on your, like, you're semi-connected, but we're not going to let you, we're not going to buy things from you until you complete the registration, okay? So this is how it looks if you're sending it to someone new to us, but not new to Coupa. Very important.
Nikki, where do you get this? Where do you get this form right here?
You don't get this form. This is a vendor form.
I'm sorry, I thought I heard you say we send this to the vendor.
We do send this to the vendor. It's the vendor registration request in Coupa.
Okay.
So I can show you that in a minute when we go over other things, but this is what the vendor sees when we send them a request. So if you send it to, so let's say your vendor isn't using Coupa, okay? And they're new to Coupa and new to Penn. This is what the email will look like. Notice it's very different, you guys. So this is like, hey, we want you, we need your company records. You're new to this. And then there's different links here that have nothing to do with Coupa. So notice there's a little bit of a difference with what your supplier is going to see based on if they're using Coupa or not using Coupa already. So it's important that the first question you ask is, are you in Coupa? Now, to Scott's question, how do we send this out? It is the same request, regardless if they're in Coupa or not. It's the same process for us. It's under forms and it's due vendor request. The biggest challenge with the new vendor request is you need to make sure that your primary contact and who you're sending this to is the person that is going to fill out the registration. So some things we get from vendors. Oh, send it to me and I'll forward it to my office lady. Hard no. Hard no, guys, won't work. Because this is not a forwarded document. We're basically entering their information to Coupa, and then when they open it, they validate that information. This is not like a free text, fill out whatever you want kind of, we're not hippies, guys, okay? We're very specific people here. So when you send a vendor registration and you fill out this request, this is our internal request that buyers should be completing. You need to complete this and make sure that the vendor primary contact here is going to be the person and the email address that is linked to Coupa if they're already using Coupa, and the person that's going to be filling out the form. Okay, so that is what it looks like on our side. This is the invitation that you get from Coupa if you're a vendor. Now, if I'm a supplier and I'm already using Coupa, I just get this super cool login to Coupa, which is, this is the login page for suppliers. This is what it looks like. So we talked about, this is a supplier kind of day for us. So I already have an account. And so I'm just going to hit login and it's going to log me into my Coupa portal. Now, notice Penn National Gaming, Nikki's House of Blues is using Coupa to transact electronically and communicate with you. We'll walk you through a quick and easy setup of your account with Penn National Gaming. Nikki's House of Blues, so you're ready to do business together. The first time, so if your supplier is already using Coupa, but they are new to us as an organization, the first time they log into Coupa, they will get this large notification telling them that they have to do something. So if your vendor says, I didn't get that, they clicked continue and didn't read, okay? So I'm gonna hit continue. And then what's going to happen is it's basically telling, it takes me right into the registration. So I want you guys to see just how easy this is. OK, I basically fill out my name. So my name is Nikki's House of Blues in this particular example. I can fill out a website. Notice it tells me what's required by using my little asterisks. It gives me, is this my ship to location, pay to location, invoice from location? I can select or no. We support, so if I already have a CXML or an STFP integration, I can select here. Once I'm done with this page, I hit next. It's going to ask me what my default terms are and give me options. right, of each term selected. So I have to pick one of these. So, and then use these preference for all of your customers. This is a setting that I can do globally from a vendor side. So if I have different net terms for all of my customers, I don't want to select this. Or if I give the same net terms to all my customers, I can select this. Next. And then, hey, you're almost there. You're one step away. I want to go there. Fantastic. Now notice I'm already seeing Penn National Gaming, Nikki's House of Blues up here. So I'm already seeing some of this information. Here is where it basically gives me the registration. So I'm going to go through here and it plucks in all the info that I already gave it. Okay. But there's other information that I need. So please provide the details of your company primary contact. This should still be me. Here's my remit to addresses. Is your company based in Louisiana? That's for Rob and his team. Here's some information about my class. This is where I would attach my W-9 right here. Is your company traded? Food, blah, 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 blah. This is license and permits. So this is where I would fill all that out. I could attach as many licenses as I want to. Notice not a lot of these are required, guys. So think about all the problems that your vendors have told you they're having. This is a relatively easy form, right? You just answer the questions. It's not hard. Ownership details. It asks for this information. They just type it in here. Diversity. Property questions. So this is where this is pre-populated. And then this is where I can say like, yes, I need to do business with the Meadows. Well, that's because it's in Pennsylvania and they have crazy rules there. Same with Louisiana or Missouri. So I would just select yes or no, do my right thing. Here's the insurance piece. This is where I load it. This is where I acknowledge RPO terms and conditions at the time of registration, guys. And then I sign and then I submit for approval. It's just that easy. And it looks exactly the same for a new supplier to Penn. So that's a current Coupa supplier that's new to Penn. The process is very similar to a new to Coupa and new to Penn. They would join and respond. It would make them set up a Coupa account right here. And then you would basically go through all the same steps. So that is how a supplier is introduced to Coupa. That's how they register for Penn National as a supplier. Okay. So once a supplier is registered, what does that look like? Okay. So this is my portal and I'm registered. I'm a supplier with us already. Here is all my customers. In this particular example, we're going to be Alsco because it's working. So I can see here's all my information. I can go in and update this whenever I want to. This is what my Coupa looks like from a vendor perspective. So I have home, profile, orders, timesheets. Some of these things we don't use, some of them we do. Okay. So we've talked about vendor managed catalogs before. That's a big no-no in the Penn world. I still have catalogs here. Are we going to utilize that? No. Why? It doesn't work with our business model. Can you ask a supplier to do that and can they do some work and then be rejected? Yes. Yes, they can. Someone just put this on.
Thank you for calling Hollywood Casino Aurora. Our casino hours are 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 8:30 a.m. until...
Okay, we're not on hold anymore. That's good. So here's orders, timesheets, invoices. So these are all of the things. I have my own notifications here. So if I am a current Coupa user and Penn sends me a registration request, I also get a request in my notification inbox to fill it out. So in case I miss that first page and I just X out and I don't pay attention to it, I can always go to my notifications and there will be an update information request is received, and that's where they will start the registration process. Okay, so this is where I can see my orders as a Penn supplier. Now notice guys, this is really important for us to understand. There's no addresses here. There's no indication which property these orders belong to. That is because, as I've said before, we are Penn National Gaming. We are not Blackhawk, we are not Lake Charles, we are not Meadows, we are Penn National Gaming when it comes to Coupa. So when suppliers reach out, and they're wondering, can I have a portal for individual accounts? What can I do? Unfortunately, it's all one big happy Coupa family in this portal, okay? So that is definitely something that our vendors have to get used to, but it's not impossible, and we've done it with lots of people. It just takes communication, practice, and time, okay? Now, I can always click into the PO number. Now notice they see everything we do, okay? So they see this is where they can see the address. This is where they can see information, they can see the parts. This happens to be an SPO, so they can see that it's really big and awesome, and they can see all of this, okay? This is where they would comment to us, so they can comment on the purchase order from a vendor, and it'll hit our internal system, okay? To create invoices, they can do it from this sheet, where this create invoice button is. They can do it from this order list with this little create invoice button, or they can even do it from the invoices tab. And notice I have a lot of accounts here, so that's neat. They can create invoices here, invoice from PO. This is also where they can see all their invoices, whether we've entered them internally or they entered them, or they were CXML entered or EDI entered, doesn't matter. Every invoice attached to their account they can see. They can see the status. FYI, pending approval is the only status they see. We see things like pending receipt, pending approval, hold, that kind of thing. They only see pending approval. So they don't know that it's pending receipt for a supplier is not a thing, okay? They see pending approval, we see everything else. If it's paid and they have a paid invoice, they can in fact go into the invoice itself and scroll down, and they can see payment information down here. Okay, so they can track all of this within the portal, all of that good jazz. Now, I do want to show you guys one thing, that one of the most common errors that we have from portal usage is invoicing incorrectly. Now, just like internally, when an AP person goes to create an invoice, we only allow PO creation for vendors, so they can't create things without POs. And we're going to hit the create invoice button. And basically what happens is it pulls all of that information from that PO into the invoice draft, okay? Which is important to know because it's going to ask me like, where's my room at 2 and stuff, because I haven't filled that out yet. But typically it's just going to flip into this. I'm going to give it an invoice number, an invoice date. Now notice it's billing me for 9,000 towels because it flipped the entire purchase order into this invoice. It is my responsibility as a vendor when I'm creating the invoice to make this match my invoice, right? The system isn't going to know what I billed you. I have to tell it. It's very important. This little red X allows me, so if I'm not billing any towels on this invoice, I can just delete the whole line. It does not delete it from the purchase order. It just deletes it from this invoice. Okay. Maintenance fee, I'm going to bill is $12, so I would just change the price. I cannot update the billing stream. I cannot change the PO number, okay, which is the way we want it. Vendor managed services, I'm going to bill 10 cents. My replacement towels, this is what I'm going to bill. I can change the price. I can change the quantity. So I'm going to bill 100 and my PO price is wrong, and I'm going to change it to this. And when I'm done, I can calculate. This is where I'm going to add my miscellaneous fees like shipping, handling, freight, miscellaneous, ads, whatever. This is where I add it. I can add tax here. There's all these different tax rates by property. Or if none of these match the tax I'm charging, I can type it in manually. Calculate again. And when I'm done, I will just hit submit. The system's going to say, hey, you're about to submit an invoice for $197.60. Is that right? your vendor should be matching this to the supplier invoice, like their actual invoice before they hit submit. Once they're done, they hit send invoice and they are good to go. So that is what the CSP looks like, how it functions, how we get people registered, how they fill out information, all that good jazz. I'm going to stop recording so we can go into questions, but hopefully this has been helpful.